Good morning, world. Good morning, world. Ooh, it's bright and sunny today. We have our cold sun and it's freezing cold. But today, in our personal lifestyle, determinants of health, I will be talking about cooking habits. But cooking habits are very much influenced by shopping habits. So it's both what you buy and how you cook it. I love cooking, and to this day and age with the internet, there's no way anybody won't be able to learn how to cook or follow YouTube series about cooking. But I've always been one to cook my own food, and one of the things that I found out was I actually loved buying food more than I like buying clothes. So, and it's a that was my challenge. And it's a habit that I got from my father. He loved to buy food. We always had a lot of food in our house, especially meat. But of course, you know, eating meat that you grow, that you have, and vegetables and foods that you grow yourself is very different than buying foods from the supermarket. So let's start with shopping adjustments that I had to make. I stopped buying at the supermarket. I go and buy at wholesale places like Restaurant Depot or Costco. I plan. That's another thing that I incorporated. I do my grocery list. Yes, sometimes I end up adding other things that I didn't need there. But my grocery list is usually very consistent. It's things that I can buy in bulk, that I put in the deep freeze, and it allows me to do proper meal planning and meal prep so that I don't end up eating things that I shouldn't be eating. At the supermarket, you buy these little quantities, and most of the time, I would buy a lot of things that I didn't need. And also, it's always more expensive buying retail grocery food shopping um, than wholesale. But then the other thing is, and I understand there are people who just don't cook at all. They eat out, they they order in. I'm not one. I don't like eating foods that I don't know how they were cooked or what went into them because you know things like lard makes food taste good, but it's not healthy for your arteries. Things like cheese, you know, not good. And one of the other things that I always think is watch how food behaves when you cook it. Because, like cheese, for instance, it sticks on a lot of stuff and it's hard to clean. And can you imagine it in your stomach and how it's working through your digestive system? We just don't eat uh, a lot of cheese in my house, and I rarely buy it. And the other thing that I did was food substitution. Uh, I remember one time my doctor told me my cholesterol was very high, and I decided she wanted to put me on a medication. And I was like, no, I'm not going to take that medication. I need some natural ways of bringing my cholesterol down. And she was like, well, you know what? Here is the prescription, but here is a list of some of the foods you shouldn't eat. And I knew at the time I loved to cook my food with butter and margarine. Like I said, I love rich food. And so what I did is completely cut down the butter and margarine, uh, completely cut out cooking oil, uh, a little bit, or changed actually the way I use cooking oil because usually I only use it for products that might need uh, cooking oil, but I substituted cooking oil with other things. I really don't like olive oil, but I started getting coconut oil, and sometimes I just don't get the oil at all. So substitutions, little things at a time. Loved mayonnaise, but substituted it with sour cream. So, yeah, it might not be as great as you remember it, but your palate gets used to it. The other thing is seasoning buying. Oh my goodness, these salted seasoning have got so much salt in them than the seasoning. And what eventually happens is you end up with a lot of sodium in your food trying to get more flavor. So I stopped buying a lot of these seasonings that I already have salt in it. Most of the seasonings that I buy are just straight up what it is. If it's pepper, it's pepper. If it's cumin, it's cumin. No multi-mixed seasoning. The other thing that I started doing also when it's available is I like buying fresh seasonings. Like I no longer buy the powdered turmeric. I buy the turmeric root and blend it myself, put it in a jar, mason jar, keep it in the fridge. So if I need to drink uh, turmeric or put it in my food, if I'm making a masala dish, it's fresh turmeric. I also buy fresh ginger and blend it, keep it in the refrigerator for my tea as well as for my foods. I stopped. I started buying uh, fresh mint, fresh uh, ooh, uh, 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 garlic, and prep it myself because I realized that when you are buying, and some of these sorrel, I buy sorrel, dried sorrel leaf, and I use it for my tea as well as I need the iron anyway. So a lot of these stuff is just a matter of adding water. And then when it comes to the actual cooking, I stopped cooking certain ways. I mean, rarely do I do fried foods. And uh, I like to either grill, broil, bake, and steam, uh, saute. It's because I have to put too much oil in it, and I usually don't. But even now, I've evolved to a point where I like my vegetables raw. Instead of buying regular onions, I buy sweet onions so that I can eat them raw. And my salad, I love, 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 love mushrooms. I started eating my mushrooms raw. I love squash. I started eating my squash raw. And of course, lettuce is my best vegetable ever, next to mushrooms. And so I started buying those those vegetables that I can eat raw. And I actually did realize that I like my vegetables, broccoli, raw than cooked because something about the cooking of the vegetables kind of changes their structure and their taste. So just seasoning them up with when they are raw and putting them on my plate, I'm good to go. Otherwise, I'll just put them in hot water, take a little bit of that, chill in them, and that uh, uh, farm test to it, and then take them out. Don't even boil. Just sit them in water, drain them, season, and ready to go. And then with meat, ooh, I grew up on a farm, and and I I love I love meat. I think I'm more addicted to meat than anything else. Even drink, even my wine uh, comes uh, far last. And I remember one week I tried to just go vegetarian, no meat. Oh my goodness, it was horrible. But one thing that I did with the meat is I don't buy any processed meats, no sandwiches, no cold cuts. And with sandwiches, I don't buy bread either because bread used to be something that I used to love. And the willpower to resist bread, oh, it was hard. So my decision on all the foodstuffs that I have a hard time gaining willpower to stop is I just don't buy them. Don't bring it into the house. Don't put it on your grocery list. And eventually you just forget to buy it. Once in a while, I might buy, uh, a baguette, or I might buy some rolls, but it's usually occasional. It's not like everyday living. We are eating bread all the time. But I think a lot of the other things that helped was my son having all these allergies. He allowed me to learn how to read nutritional labels to make sure I'm checking how much, not just the calories, additives that they put, the colorings that they put in the food. MSG, I don't buy any seasoning, any foods with MSG in them. Uh, and it was, um, and we don't do dairy because he also is intolerant to dairy. So I stopped doing a lot of dairy in our house. I mean, we adjusted around his diet, and really, it was also good for our health as a family because I became mindful. And this is what I'm just trying to say: be present, be mindful of what you are buying and what you are getting. So you can't think of, oh, I need to adjust my cooking habits before you think about adjusting your food shopping habits. And it's just one of those things that you have to uh, understand the interconnectedness. And I always say that, you know, start small, start with little steps, make them a habit. And eventually, your palate will get used not having, we don't do sugar at all. Yeah, once in a while when I travel, I buy chocolate from the duty free. But sugar makes my son hyper, and I cannot have sugar in the house. We don't do soda. And what I found is he actually doesn't like the soda. He likes the bubbles in the soda. So I buy seltzer water now. So make substitutions in your food shopping. Take out unhealthy foods, little one by one, little by little, until it becomes a habit. And then change the way you cook that food. Or don't cook it like I did with the vegetables. Most of them, and I buy the same vegetables that I like all the time. I'm not too much on experimenting with vegetables. And those are my few tips about cooking habits. Start with shopping habits of your food. So if nobody told you they love you today, I do. Ciao, ciao.